Welcome, baseball fans, to Week 9 of Major League Baseball Power Rankings. Let's do this again. This is take 3. We had some technical glitches the first couple times, so let's see if we can make this one look a little bit better, and we'll see how it goes. So, always fun to do these things several times over just to get it right, just for you, the fans, because you are who I do this for. So this week, we've had a lot of activity. We've had 23 out of the 30 teams move at least one spot. We had one team with the largest jump of 8. We had one team with the largest fall of 6. So let's go ahead and get on into it. Now, just to give you a quick refresher on the points here, because there's a new little tiebreaker here. The power rankings are completely objective because they're based upon wins in the field. 3 points for a 9-inning win, 2 points for an extra inning win, 1 point for an extra inning loss, and 0 points for a 9-inning loss. Having said that, that gives you a lot of ties. So, to break, the first tiebreaker is going to be, the points are all season long, cumulative. As you can see here, 121 for the number 1 team, but only 54 for the lowest team here. So it's cumulative throughout the season. That way, it's an accurate gauge about how well a team has done throughout the entire season. But for the weekly tiebreakers, that is run differential, in which for offensive-minded fans, you take the runs the team has scored for that week, and for the defensive-minded fans, you subtract the runs they've given up to get your run differential. So you have some slides here where one team gave up 18 more runs than they scored, while up here you got a team that scored 10 runs more than they gave up that week. For this tiebreaker, what you're looking at is since the points and the run differential are equal, all things considered the same, we then, for a second tiebreaker, go to the run differential for the entire season, in which for this season, this team has got 3 fewer runs than they scored during the week, but for the year, they're at 42 above. Here, -3 for the week, but 18 above for the year. So, let's go ahead and get into it here and have some fun, shall we? Number 30. The Baltimore Orioles are coming in here at the worst record in the majors, 18-40. And given the fact that they are very much in a rebuild, because they did a fire sale last year, and they're basically taking more or less what could be summed up to minor leaguers against major league teams, there's a lot of growing pains there. And I've spoken to Oriole fans and friends of mine that they just haven't watched the games because it's just painful. Now, for those who are playing against the Orioles, those are games that are always fun to tune in because it's like, okay, this is a team in which our team should easily walk away with a win because they're having a horrible year. So, having said that, when Baltimore went up against Detroit and San Francisco and took 2 out of the 6 games this week, it's like, okay, the other teams want to take 2 out of 3 from them. So, yeah, it sucks that they lost 1 game, but they still walked away with their head held high. So, having said that, sorry, Baltimore fans, it's going to be a painful year, maybe a painful couple of years as they're rebuilding. Speaking of rebuilding, we're looking at that largely through the entire bottom row here. And coming in at number 29 is the Kansas City Royals. Kansas City is down 2 from last week. They are 20 under 500 and 19-39. They have had an abysmal week, winning 2, losing 5 against the Chicago White Sox and the Texas Rangers. This is a team with which has the pieces to win games, but they can't win them consistently, consecutively. They can't take series. They're struggling. And I've seen the games that they win when things are just clicking right. Either the other team gives the game away or they actually show their mental. So it's one of those things where you want the best for them, but at the same time, they don't have everything in sync the way they need to be more competitive than they are now. They're largely rebuilding. They are a far cry from their championship seasons. Coming in at number 28, the Detroit Tigers, who had a very average week, winning 3, losing 3, playing Baltimore Orioles and the Atlanta Braves. Now, you could probably give them a slide on the Atlanta Brave games, but the Baltimore Orioles games, it's like those are the games in which that if you're trying to put together, the worst team in the league is the team you should be walking over. However, they're also rebuilding. So it's like if you lose games to a bad team and you are a bad team, I don't hold much against you there. You're both rebuilding. You're both trying to figure things out. This team did not move from last week, but one team that did move from last week are the Miami Marlins. The Marlins are up 2 this week. They're still 16 games under 500 at 20-36, but they had an above average week in that they, out of 7 games, one of them obviously had to go one way or the other. In this case, they won 4, lost 3 against the San Francisco Giants and the San Diego Padres. Now, what was kind of fun with this one is the fact that you're talking about a team that's rebuilding, that has a bunch of minor leaguers more or less. They have been horrible all year long, and then they're in San Diego and they win one of the first 2 games of the series, third one being today. So the fact that they got one out of San Diego is huge. Kudos to Miami. Way to go. When I get to San Diego, I'll talk about how their tails are kind of between the legs on that one. But fundamentally, the Miami Marlins, between playing San Fran and San Francisco, managed to. They didn't have as good of a week as last week, but they didn't have a horrible week either. 4-3 is respectable, and considering the fact they didn't go from a strong week to a horrible week, I give them kudos for that. Good job, Miami. Speaking of teams that are struggling, the Toronto Blue Jays come at number 26. Now, they've got a couple of Hall of Famer sons on this team, with Vladimir Guerrero and another one. I get it. They have the genetic makings to be great players, and they may even have good bats now. But in the Guerrero's case, his defense needs to be shored up a bit, and the whole team itself needs some work. They have had an abysmal week, tied with another club for the worst record of the week, 1 win and 5 losses against the Tampa Bay Rays and the Colorado Rockies. They got killed by Colorado, and they didn't fare much better against Tampa, and that's a divisional game. If you want to be competitive in this league and be able to compete for a postseason, you have to win your divisional games, and they're not. Granted, Tampa is not exactly any slouch, but you still got to win your divisional games. Just no ifs, ands, ways, or buts about it. It doesn't matter if whoever team is having a good year or bad year, you got to win those games. Step it up if you got to. They are not. You're looking at 16 under 500. They are a franchise trying to develop their young players, trying to make a name for themselves. And so this will be a painful year for them. They're not going to make the playoffs, but at least they're putting the pieces in place for future years. Coming in at number 25, the San Francisco Giants, also a rebuilding team. They did not move this week. They won 2, lost 4 against the Miami Marlins and the Baltimore Orioles. Going against a couple of the worst teams in the league between Miami and Baltimore, that's an opportunity for a team to get some wins under their belt and build towards the future. When they drop 4 out of 6 against those teams, it shows how much they are hurting as a team. Their former elite players, Bumgarner, Posey, and others, are past their prime, and their younger talent isn't there yet. So for San Francisco fans, my sympathies to you. They are a team that's rebuilding. They don't have the pieces in place that are playing at the right caliber yet to be competitive in their division, but they have to go through some growing pains to get players where they need to be, whether through development, through experience, or through trades or whatever they got to do. So that's for San Francisco. Coming in at number 24, the Seattle Mariners. This is a team that kind of took me by surprise early in the season because they started the season in Tokyo, and so the first power rankings on 31st, because they had played more games than anybody else, and because they happened to win those games, I thought, okay, it is what it is. We have a baseline. Then, as they played the next couple of weeks, and the number of games leveled off with off days to the rest of the league, and they maintained a high stature, I thought, okay, maybe this is a year that they might actually do something. Unfortunately, we're talking about the same Seattle Mariners with whom, outside of that run they had in the late 90s, when you had some top-notch talent between Brett Boone, Ichiro Suzuki in his prime, Randy Johnson, other players, this is a team that's a far cry from that. And as we've seen over the course of this year, they have just did nothing but continue to drop further and further and further down. Will they actually continue falling? We don't know. But they're down 1 this week, and at this point in time, they'd have to play pretty badly to drop much farther, or one of these teams would actually have to have a surge to bounce over them. We'll see. Coming at 23, the Washington Nationals. The Nationals are up 1 this week. They had a solid week, winning 4 out of 6, 4 wins, 2 losses against the Atlanta Braves and the Cincinnati Reds. And this is why I will preach every single week. When you want to be competitive, when you want to challenge for the division, and when you want to try and make a playoff run, winning 4 out of 6 in a given week is what you got to do. The key and the hard part is to do this consistently, week in and week out. The good teams can, the bad teams can't. But for the weeks in which teams accomplish that feat, I will absolutely give them kudos for that. Good job, Washington. Coming in at number 22, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They are down 3 this week at 1 under 500, 28 and 29. They went 3 wins and 5 losses in a 7-game week, playing Cincinnati and Milwaukee. I got to watch a couple of games of them against Milwaukee, and they actually managed to win one of those games, and it was sufficiently impressive, the fact that a team in which you never know what team is going to show up when it comes to Pittsburgh, because they have the pieces in place where they can win against any team any given day, but they're so wildly inconsistent with it. You never know whether the Pittsburgh team that is going to show up to play, or if it's going to be a Pittsburgh team that's going to lay an egg. You just don't know what you're getting any given day. So the one game, they got thumped by Milwaukee. The other game, they came back and actually beat Milwaukee. So that's been a trend for Pittsburgh all year long, and that's what has them at 22 this week. Coming in at number 21, the New York Mets. The Mets are down 3 spots. They fell out of the middle rung, and they're back down to the bottom of the barrel here after having a below average week, winning 3, losing 4 against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. Now, normally I could probably give a slide going up against a team like the LA Dodgers, but the Arizona Diamondbacks themselves are hit and miss. They're spotty. They're better than Pittsburgh, but not a lot, in that they're still very streaky. Like, for example, they can take out New York in the Yankees at home for a 2-game set, but then, they drop series. So New York has pieces that looked promising between Robinson Cano, between Thor and DeGrom and others, and Curtis Granderson. But you got a lot of players on the IL, and so you expect more from the Mets. But knowing Mets fans, they know no matter what players they have, they know not to get their hopes up, unfortunately. These are what historically are known as the lovable losers, because you put together good teams and they don't perform on the field. Meanwhile, the fans get behind them anyway. And I have all the respect in the world for the fans for sticking it out for a team that which whether they have good players or bad players can never seem to find their way. Year 2000 Subway Series aside, they generally don't usually contend all that well. So that accounts for your bottom row here. teams that are rebuilding, that are sinking, or trying to find their way. Now we get to some more fun here. These are teams with which have the pieces that they need to potentially contend, but they're still trying to find their way. Either the players aren't playing up to their potential, or they have a lot of injuries, or they're trying to build the team chemistry, or whatever it is they're trying to do. They are trying to find their way. They're trying to figure out how to compete with these without falling off the radar here. So to start off this round here, coming in at number 20, the Boston Red Sox, having won 2, lost 4 against the Cleveland Indians and the New York Yankees. This is a team with whom is way too loaded to stay down this far. I've been saying this since day one. You've got Porcello, you've got Eovaldi coming back from the IL, you've got Chris Sale, you've got phenomenal pieces in your rotation, you've got a deadly lineup. They just haven't put it together yet. Do not overlook them, because this is a team that's going to break out and is going to run over everybody. Having said that, a lot of the reason why they are struggling this year is because they are the World Series champions. And when you are the World Series champions, you got a target on your back. That means anybody playing against you is going to bring their absolute best at you. This could be, for example, let's just say, for sake of argument, the Kansas City Royals go on a 6-game losing streak. Then they come up against Boston and they hound them and pound them and push them with everything they got, and they take 2 out of 3. Then they go on another 5-game losing streak. That's what you're dealing with Boston. They're getting the absolute best a team has got, hitting them every night, day in and day out. The kind of pressure only defending World Series champion has to deal with. And it's a kind of pressure that other teams who are trying to make their mark this year and dethrone them don't have to worry about. These are until they are dethroned and they either don't make the playoffs or fall out of the playoffs, this is a team to beat because they are the defending champions, and that goes every year. So that has not helped them much, but their own team isn't helping themselves either. Having said that, number 19, the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox have gone 5 wins and 2 losses against the Kansas City Royals and Cleveland Indians. They not only had your standard issue 4 wins, 2 losses, 6 of 4 out of 6, but they played a 7th game and they won that 7th game, going 5 wins. They had a very strong week. Props to the Chicago White Sox, and that earns you the right to climb out of the cellar and jump over Boston to be number 19. You had a very strong week. Unfortunately, it hasn't been very consistent, and I want to see that. You have good players on your team. You have the ability to win games, and you've shown it this week, going 5-2. Now you just have to put it together and do that again next week and the week after, and try to show some consistency. Try to string together some series. So, good job this week, Chicago. Let's see what you can do next week. Coming in at number 18, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. LA is up 2, also, like Chicago, having a very strong week, winning 5 and losing 2 against the Oakland Athletics and the Seattle Mariners. Now, given the fact that both Seattle and Oakland are not exactly elite teams, Oakland haven't gotten to yet. Granted, they are doing better than Seattle, and they are doing better than Anaheim right now. But that aside, Anaheim has had to try and find their identity after Sochi left. He was a phenomenal coach. He took them to the one World Series championship against the Giants back in 2002. And he kept them competitive. He kept them winning division championships, giving them the opportunity to try to get a second championship. With him gone, they had good pieces in Trout and others, but fundamentally they're trying to find their identity. They're trying to make something out of their team. They are 2 under 500 at 28-30, but they did exactly what you need to do: win against your division. They did a great job with that. Great job, Anaheim, the Angels. Keep up the good work. We'll see what you do next week. Coming in at number 17, the St. Louis Cardinals. They are down 1 this week after having a very average week, winning 3, losing 3 against the Philadelphia Phillies and the Chicago Cubs. Now, granted, I could give them a slide on Philadelphia because they are a stacked team. They are expected to win games. But with Chicago, that's like in football, Philadelphia versus Dallas. It's all bets are off. It's a divisional race. 2 teams are slugging out to try and win their division. So with that, regardless of whether or not they should have won or should not have won, it's always interesting. It's always fun to see how well they do. So that gives them their 3-3 on the week and leads them into the 17th spot here. Coming in number 16, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who had a very subpar week, going 2 wins and 5 losses against the Colorado Rockies and the New York Mets. Unlike St. Louis, they had an abysmal week, but that meant they dropped 3 spots. They were up here last week, whereas St. Louis was not. St. Louis was up at 16 last week. They dropped 1. They were up here, dropped 3 because they had an abysmal week. Having said that, being in that tie with St. Louis, you have to go to tiebreakers here to give them a definitive rank. Ultimately, these 2 teams are pretty much equal, but you have to separate them for power ranking purposes. Arizona is a team like Pittsburgh in which you don't know what team is going to show up that day. Is it going to be the team that can take out the Yankees or take out the Dodgers, or is it going to be a team that lays an egg against the San Francisco Giants or Kansas City, for example? You don't know what team's going to show up any given day. They have the ability to win, to go on a streak, but they haven't put it together to a point where they can do it consistently, and they had a bad week this week. Coming in at number 15, the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati has won 4, lost 3 in a 7-game week against the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Washington Nationals. They're sitting at 4 under 500, and they're up 2 from last week. This is a team that's going to be a very much middle-of-the-pack team. I got to see a couple games of them against the Chicago Cubs, a divisional opponent. I saw how they could score runs, and I also saw how they could be completely dominated by their opponents. So this is a team that is similar to the other teams who are trying to find their identity, in which they can win any given day, and it really depends on what team decides to show up that day. Coming in at number 14, the Colorado Rockies had the absolute best week of any team, going 7-0, sweeping their week against the Arizona Diamondbacks and Toronto Blue Jays. They single-handedly had the largest jump of any team. They, in 1 week, took themselves out of the cellar and in prime condition to make a move depending on what they do in future weeks, but they're at number 14, having a 7-0 week. Granted, you're talking Arizona and Toronto, but here's the deal. You don't have any control over your schedule, but you do have control over whether you win those games. Colorado won every single game this week. Huge props, kudos, congratulations, Colorado. You had a fabulous week. You get the crown for having the best week. Great job. Keep up the good work. You keep that up, even if you sink as far as 4-2. If you can do that consistently, you are going to challenge for your division. That's a tall order, and they're a far cry from that, but they had a phenomenal week, and I absolutely recognize that. Coming at number 13, the Cleveland Indians are down 1 this week, having won 3, lost 4 against the Chicago White Sox, and the Boston Red Sox. Sorry, they played both Sox teams. I got them backwards. My bad. So the Cleveland Indians are down 1. They're an even 500 record at 29-29. Now, this is a team with which has solid pieces in Lindor, in Bauer. I think that their ace is coming off the DL soon. I'm not sure. But between the players in the field and the management they have under Francona and others, this is a team with which I'm predicting is going to be the top contender with Minnesota for the division in the Central. It's a team with which they're not doing stellar now, but I never write them off. They're in a division itself that is relatively weak, bearing the fact that you're in a division with Detroit and Kansas City. We basically have a couple of teams that are human punching bags, more or less. They're going to win a lot of divisional games, and they're going to be in the contention for the division. So it really depends on how well their team comes together during the course of the season to determine whether or not they actually make something of it or if they end up watching on the sidelines. Coming in at number 12, the Texas Rangers. Texas is up 3 this week, sitting at 2 over 500, 29-27 on the season. They have won 4 games, lost 3 this week against the Seattle Mariners and the Kansas City Royals. This is a team with which is very much middle of pack, win some, lose some, hit and miss. Do I think they can do better than they are now? I do. But I haven't seen the consistency from them. They're hot and cold, hit and miss, very average team. The fact that they're up here shows that they've had either they've had the opportunity to beat up on lower teams a little bit more, or they've been less streaky than other teams. Speaking of streaky, the Oakland Athletics. Oakland is in the same spot as last week, also 500 on the year, 29-29, having had a bad week, losing 4 out of 6 to the Los Angeles Angels and the Houston Astros. Now, I could give them a slide for losing to the Houston Astros. They even to Oakland and kicked their butt. I believe that was on Friday. But against the LA Angels, you have to win divisional games. If you want these games to mean something, if you want to matter at the end of the year, the way to do that is through your divisional games. You're going to play your division 18 times each team. That's a tremendous number of games. You have to win those games if you want to make the postseason, if you want to be competitive. So, that accounts for your teams that are either a lost cause for the year, hot and cold, trying to find themselves, or they are finally starting to put their pieces together to try and make a run at the top echelon. Now, we get to the fun part. You're talking about teams that are either gotten hot, they're outright powerhouses, or they are perennial elite teams. Let's go ahead and get started. Coming in at number 10, the San Diego Padres. San Diego is in the same spot they were last week, sitting at 2 games over 500, having had a bad week. They lost 4 out of 6 between the New York Yankees and the Miami Marlins. This is a team with which, because of their season to date, dropping 4 out of 6 did not kill them. They didn't fall out of top 10. But when they went into New York and lost 2 out of 3, I said, okay, that's an opportunity for you to go up against a top 10 team and see how you do. Where do you really, really measure up against teams in the upper echelon? And they dropped 2 out of 3. So I said, okay, great. Now we have that benchmark for them. Now we can see, how do they move forward from this? Do they go back to San Diego and do they start ripping off wins, try and rebound from that 2 or 4 week? Or do they say, okay, we now have a weakness, we need to shore this up? What happened was they invite Miami into town, and Miami proceeds to kick their butt for one game. They believe they went 1-1 Friday and Saturday games. But the reality of the matter is, you have a home game against a team all the way down here who are playing more or less what can be considered minor leaguers, and they go in, and I have to assume they must have caught them off guard or had them on off night or something, because they're basically got their tail between the legs because they just got beat by Miami. And as any Padres fan watching that, it's like, oh my God, did they really lose to Miami of all teams? Granted, down here I give all the credit in the world to Miami for going into San Diego and winning a game. Up here, when we're talking about from the Padres' perspective, it's like that's a game you are expected to win. So you either had an off night or you just laid an egg or something, but you got your tails between your legs on that one. Granted, they did actually get the other game against Miami. So after having a little bit of fun with Padres, number 9, the Atlanta Braves are down 1 this week, but they're still 4 games over 500 at 31-27. They had a somewhat less than successful week, winning 2, losing 3 against the Washington Nationals and the Detroit Tigers. This is a team with which over the past few years I kept on hearing about how great their farm system was, much like I kept hearing from New York about how they had the best farm system in the world. Speaking of best farm systems, San Diego's is no slouch either. What happens is the farm system falls off the radar when all those players come up to the major leagues and start making contributions. And I believe that has a lot to do with why Atlanta is in the top 10. They are starting to put things together. They did not have a stellar week, but they didn't have a killer week either. So that lets them be at number 9 this week. Coming in at number 8, the Chicago Cubs. Down 1 this week, having tied Toronto Blue Jays for the worst week of any team. Winning 1, losing 5 against the Houston Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, what makes it interesting is that you could probably give them a pass for dropping games to the Houston Astros, being a powerhouse team. But when you are playing your divisional rival, a team with which is highly touted for the rivalry, granted, I think this year with Milwaukee making hell of a run at it, I've listed them as a bit of a rivalry going on here. But historically speaking, St. Louis and Chicago have been as much a rivalry as LA, San Francisco, New York, Boston. Not nearly to the hype of those teams, but it's definitely a rivalry in which the fans and that division get involved in. So, coming in at number 7, the Milwaukee Brewers. Speaking of rivalries, the Milwaukee Brewers had a good, solid week, winning 4, losing 2 against the Minnesota Twins and the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pittsburgh being in their own division, I got to watch a couple of those games, and it was really kind of interesting because they went 1-1 Friday, Saturday, and during those games, I saw the game Milwaukee won, and you could see the aura around them in Pittsburgh where, they're looking at you like, you know we're going to win, right? Now, granted, Pittsburgh did rebound, and they showed up the next day, and they won, and they beat Milwaukee. So it just makes everything so much more interesting watching that competitive balance, watching those divisional games where, like a Eagles versus Cowboys game, when you're playing division, when you're that heated, all bets are off. You don't know who's going to win any given day, but it's fun watching them go head-to-head. Coming in at number 6, the Philadelphia Phillies had a bad week. I'm so sorry, Philadelphia, but I hear all the time about how they think the Philadelphia Phillies should be number 1. I get it. I feel for you, especially with a major loaded team. Remuto, Harper, yada, 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 yada. I can go through the whole lineup. You get the idea. You know who your team is. They have a stacked team, but they won 2 and lost 4 against St. Louis Cardinals and the LA Dodgers. You might want to give them a pass for the Dodgers because, like the Tampa Bay Lightning in hockey, everyone loses to them. I get that. But if you are an elite team, if you're trying to establish yourself as a powerhouse, as a team to beat, as a team going somewhere, LA is probably the best way to measure yourself because they are a phenomenal team this year. They're killing it. They've been number 1 for several weeks on this season, and that's an opportunity for you to show what you can do. And unfortunately, they had 2 and 4 weeks between both series. I would love to be able to tell Phillies fans that their team deserves to be higher, but here's what I do tell them. From an objective standpoint, if you want to rank higher than 6, you got to win more games. Losing 4 out of 6 in a given week isn't going to do it. Having said that, you do have the potential. You have, between Aaron Nola, Bryce Harper, and everybody else in that roster, you have the ability to break in the top 5. You even did it a week or two. At the same time, I am not going to discount the fact that you are doing very, very well this year. You are in the top 10. You should be very proud of yourself. You've got 24 other teams you are ranked higher than. That might not be number 1, but still, you are still the envy of everyone below you. So take heart in that, Philadelphia fans. You're on the right track. Let's see what you can do going forward. Coming in, number 5, our big top 5. This is where we get into our powerhouses. Teams that are just killing it, who dominate and find ways to win, even when they're having off nights. Starting that list off, the Tampa Bay Rays, who have coined the opener, with whom they actually do have some quality starters in Blake Snell and Charlie Morton. But beyond that, you've got a bunch of starters with which are more or less long relievers or bullpen pitchers. So they coined the whole opener, where you're going to bring in a relief pitcher to give everything they got for 1 or 2 innings to get through the heart of the lineup and turn it over to somebody else. I get it, and other teams have tried it. No one has been as good at that as Tampa, primarily because their team is built around that. I know I've harped on that in weeks past, but this week they've gone 5 wins and 2 losses against the Toronto Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins. When you're winning games against a team that is leading the division and that is killing it, like the Minnesota Twins, you deserve hats off, Tampa. You're holding your own. You're showing you've got what it takes to win games. And I was watching them earlier today, actually, while I was trying to fix the first 2 takes. And they show that they are ready to come out and play. Coming in at number 4, the Minnesota Twins. Speaking of being able to... Yeah, that was who I was watching, Minnesota and Tampa. Minnesota was winning against Tampa, but I didn't see a Tampa team that was playing horribly. They were just being outgunned by the Minnesota Twins. And fundamentally, a lot of teams have been outgunned by the Minnesota Twins. They are number 4 for a reason. They are leading their division for a reason. They are gelling, they are killing it, and they are doing what you need to do to be competitive. And they had a very solid week, winning 4, losing 2 against the Milwaukee Brewers and the Tampa Bay Rays. Having said that, they are down 2 because of who's coming up ahead of them. But for all intents and purposes, be proud of yourselves, Minnesota. You're doing a hell of a job, and you're number 1 in your division. You're definitely, the way you're playing now, are playoff bound. We'll see how well you continue playing into the second half of the season. Coming in at number 3, talk about powerhouses. Booyah, baby, Houston. With a lineup like them, with pitchers like them, you're looking at a team with a rotation and lineup like Boston, but is actually killing it. Who is using all their potential and milking it for all of its worth. Houston had, just like the other teams here, a solid week, winning 4, losing 2 against the Chicago Cubs and the Oakland Athletics. They go into Oakland and they kick their butts on Friday. And they don't stop there. I mean, they've been a strong team all season long. And when you have Verlander and others, I could go into it between Altuve and Bregman and everybody else, but you know who you have. And fundamentally, they're all playing at a high level, and they're all playing the same team that won the World Series, and also after defeating New York in the ALCS. You have a team with which you have strong enough depth that any given night, a different person can step up and win the game for you. Now, Houston is sitting at 39 and 20 is 19 under 500 and in the same spot as last week. So that begs the question, who are our top 2 teams of the week? Well, coming in at number 2, the New York Yankees. New York is down 1 this week despite having a very solid week. They won 4, losing 2, having lost their season finale last weekend, but they won the first 2 games, so they still took 2 out of 3 of that series. They have won 9 straight series. And when that kind of consistency comes into place, you are killing it. You are a powerhouse. You are showing what it takes, especially when you have a major league leading number of players on the IL. It shows that your talent pool, your minor leaguers are coming up. Atlanta, come on. You got the same situation going up here with minor leaguers coming up and helping the team. You can do it too, all right? New York, with your Gio Urshela, with your, I could go through the whole lineup, but do you really want to hear it? You can always tune in and watch the games. This team is doing everything you're supposed to be doing. Ever since they got swept by Arizona in Arizona, they have not lost a series. And this week, going 4-2 and sweeping Boston in Friday and Saturday's games, taking 2 out of 3 against San Diego, they are showing, bring anybody on and we'll find a way to win. And that's what a powerhouse does. They find ways to win games. Oops, yeah. All right, we'll fix that up. I got a little bit too excited there. Sorry about that. So, speaking of all-time powerhouses here, a team that just trumps everybody else because they have been doing it all year long. The Los Angeles Dodgers. Sorry, I need to fix this. It was something unstable before it came up. So the Los Angeles Dodgers have not only had the second best week of anybody, going 6-1 against the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies, they've been doing it all year long. The LA Dodgers have been like the Lightning of the NHL in that they're just killing it. They're winning all the time. And because they have that mental, because they have the ability to take series, win games, and consistently win, they deserve to keep the number 1 spot. Congratulations, LA. You are a rock star this year. Good luck to everybody else. So, having said all that, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this week. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you just happen to be browsing through the web and happen upon this video via Google or YouTube, please feel free to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Okay, come on. You're already up here. Come on. You want in this. I know you do. You can hear her. It's all good. Thank you everyone for Thank you everyone for tuning in this week. Hope you all enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think. And I'll see you next week. Have a good day.